Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Home Away from Home, a mini series where we highlight the stories of expats who are making the Netherlands their new home. I am Amber Paris, and this series is brought to you by Expat Housing Network, the go-to team for expats buying or renting in the Netherlands. Today we're speaking with Jessalyn. She's from the US, did a bit of travel around Europe, but now Amsterdam is the place she calls home. And in this video, she will share her tips and experiences on how to feel at home in Amsterdam. Be sure to stick around to the end for her top 3 tips for expats living in Amsterdam. Let's get right into it.
So home to me is wherever my cats are. So like, I don't call the United States home. Amsterdam is home. And specifically, this apartment is my home. And Pijp is my home because this is where my cats are. So that's what home means to me. But yeah, to me, making this feel the most like home is really getting to know my neighbors. I just feel so cozy in this little building because the first day that I moved in, I got the WhatsApp numbers of my neighbors. I'm like, hi, I'm Jessalyn, would love to meet over a glass of wine, again, pre-COVID. And yeah, my neighbors came over and it just kicked off a really great relationship. Like the other day, I had a cabinet that I sold on Facebook and someone needed to come pick it up. But in Amsterdam, at least, you don't move furniture out of your apartment through the stairwell. It goes out the window, because the stairwells are too narrow and steep. And so I didn't know the first thing about getting it's called an elevator that basically comes up to your window and like gets the thing and takes it down to the street, because I'm on this second floor, third floor American. And so I'm texting with my neighbors, like, I don't know how this works. How do you get an elevator?
I wouldn't know how to do that either.
Yeah. Do you need a permit? Like, how do you and how do you like secure the spot in the street to like put the elevator? So being new in a city and new in a foreign country, it's so important to get to know your neighbors, because they're the people that I lean on to be like, how does this work? How does parking work? How do I pay this bill?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So getting to know your neighbors is so invaluable for living in a new country that you have no idea how things work.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great piece of advice for those. That was not a silly question, by the way, but for those seemingly silly questions, you have somebody who you trust right next door or call away. That's super important. Awesome. So what was it like making connections in the new city? You talked about that a little bit with your neighbor, the Makelaar. So what about professionally? What was that experience like for you when you, like the first few weeks of you starting your new job?
Yeah, so I landed on a Friday and I started work on Monday. So I just dove right into it. My colleagues were very friendly, like, hey, you come over for dinner, meet my family, meet my friends. I think it definitely depends on what kind of company you're working in, because there's some very international companies where everybody, their first language is French or Spanish or English. My team that I work with in my profession is primarily Dutch. So it does mean that at drinks after work, which are really, really common, everyone's speaking Dutch. And so, but there was always at least one person that was willing to come over and be like, let's talk in English while you're learning Dutch. So that can be a struggle depending on the makeup of the team that you're with. But in my work, like all of my colleagues speak English with me. And, we have a really good time at work. Meeting more people. So the 3 primary ways that I meet people when I live in new countries. Number 1 is using meetup.com. So Meetup is pretty popular in the US and it's popular here as well. So it's a way to go do activities and meet new people that are interested in the same things you are. I've done a bunch of stuff like bicycle tours with a group of people, or go on a kayaking tour of the canals, and you make friends that way. So Meetup is great. I'm in a Facebook group called Americans in the Netherlands, which there's like, I think almost 5,000 people in that group. And that's actually how I met my American friends that live across the street from me. And it's such an immense, valuable tool. And you find those groups in every country around the world. So there might even be a special group for like Americans living in Utrecht or Americans living in Rotterdam. So those groups are great ways to make friends. I've made a lot of friends through that Facebook group. But also you make a lot of friends learning Dutch. So when people see that you're really making an effort to integrate and learn the language, you buy yourself so many favors. People are still friendly when you don't speak Dutch, but when they see you making the effort, like that's the number one best way to make friends. And then the last thing that I'll say is when you move to a new country, when you move to a new country, there's always foreigners looking for new friends.
Yeah.
So people say, oh, it's so hard to make friends when you move to a new country. And that's true because a lot of locals already have their friend group. You know, they went to school with them and whatever. But there's always loads of new people moving to cities looking for friends. Yeah. So I don't have any trouble in that regard. I'm making an effort to learn Dutch, and that buys me a lot of favors.
What surprised you the most about Amsterdam?
What surprised me the most about Amsterdam? How much tourists it gets. I just was not prepared.
Valid answer, right on time. Favorite pub in your neighborhood?
Oh, the Sarfat. It's right by the Sarfati Park. So you can grab a little glühwein, some hot wine, a beer, and you can see the park, but still be on a terrace.
Nice. I'll check that out for sure. An underrated cafe in the city.
The Veterijn. Veterijn. It's like, looks like an old bookstore, but without the books. And there's like cats that are climbing around the shelves.
Oh my God.
So I love it.
Nice. Right on time. Sweet. A favorite place to visit that very few people know about?
Along the Amstel River, there's cycling paths on either side, and there's this tiny little park nestled in between two homes. No one goes there. That's my happy place to go read a book.
Okay, awesome. Maybe I won't include that then, so we can keep it that way. Favorite day trip away from Amsterdam?
Texel, the island of Texel. You go take a boat over there and you just ride bikes all day, every day, and go to the beach.
Sweet. Oh, the beach. Definitely have to check that out. Awesome. If I want a haircut, where should I go?
Oh, 100%. Kinky Coppers. Kinki. I used to have hair. Best haircuts on the planet. Hands down. Kinky Coppers.
I'll let them know that you sent me. If I want dance lessons of any type of dance, where should I go?
Club, I guess.
Club.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Sweet. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I love that. Okay, final round. The most memorable positive encounter you had with a stranger?
When I went to buy shoes at this store called Allbirds, this woman spent 40 minutes helping me buy shoes because she let me do the whole thing in Dutch. So we went as slow as I needed to so that I didn't speak any English. And I was just so grateful.
And you're committed. And I love that. So I want to know more about what that feeling was like when you're preparing to move to Amsterdam. So you just got the news that you were finally moving to Amsterdam. Now you're preparing to move. Describe how you felt as you prepared and then when you actually arrived here.
I felt terrified of not knowing Dutch. So even though everyone here speaks English and they speak it very well and they're very kind to English speakers, I didn't want to be that person that showed up and was like, talk to me in English. Like, I still feel self-conscious about integrating with locals and, welcoming my new home. So that to me was the most terrifying part. And it's just a silly thing to be terrified of because people really don't care. It's more like, it's me. It's not them, it's me. So what I was scared of it's my own insecurities. And And the other thing I was a little bit scared of was also finding a home, which is,
Yeah.
part of our discussion here today. I was like, I can't read the Dutch contract. I don't know what the Dutch contract says. Even if I run it through Google Translate, law means something different in each culture. So even if I read it one way, it might mean something different. So I was very nervous about finding housing and just knowing what I was signing when I signed the lease. Yeah, so those were the things that I was most afraid of.
Okay. So how did you get through those? You were terrified of finding your home, but you found it. So what was your mindset going into it, and how did you persevere through that?
Well, I used a makelaar. So
Right.
a makelaar is a Dutch word for a real estate agent or realtor, and they're a person that helps you find properties. They do both rentals and homes for purchase. So a makelaar is really there to help you set up viewings, go look at places, tell you if it's suitable for the price, actually negotiate the lease and the terms and translate everything for you, but also show you places that are potentially not listed online. So makelaars sometimes have access to properties that you wouldn't otherwise know of. So yeah, I overcame my fear by paying a professional or trusting a professional to help me find a home.
Right.
And then overcoming the fear of Dutch was just, getting involved with my Duolingo in advance and using Google Translate and just really trying. So that was my own personal insecurity that I just needed to go out there and try and start learning Dutch. So I've been learning Dutch now for a year and a half.
Awesome. Can you say something in Dutch?
Ja, ik ben Nederlands aan het leren, maar nu is mijn vocabulary klein. That means I'm learning Dutch, but my vocabulary is small.
Awesome. No, you said it super confidently, and I think that's all that matters. People worry about sounding correct, but it's the confidence that really makes a difference, and you really demonstrated that.
Awesome. And just practicing, try at every chance. Like I sit in train stations and just listen to the announcements and try to figure out what they're saying and practice pronouncing the words. And I laugh because the first time I landed at Schiphol, with all my bags and my 2 cats, which they're sitting around here right now, I kept saying to myself, I was practicing pronouncing Schiphol. So I was walking through the airport going, Schiphol, Schiphol, Schiphol.
Oh my God.
Schiphol, Schiphol, Schiphol. I'm sure anyone walking by me was like, who's this crazy lady? My advice is to go practice riding your bike around at the park. So the Vondelpark or the Amsterdam Bos, where you don't have traffic lights. You're just getting the feel of the flow of riding your bike with a lot of people around you. But then you don't have to deal with cross traffic and trams and cars. You can add that in later. My second tip is to actually go ride your bike kind of in the middle of the night or late at night when traffic is low. So you get a feel for the lights and how they change and the direction of everything, but with very little traffic on the road. And then once you graduate, you're in traffic. There you go. It's terrifying. Cafe and terrace culture is huge in Amsterdam. So yeah, going and sitting on a terrace in the sun with some coffee or beers or non-alcoholic, if that's your jam. That's how a local's gonna celebrate. Otherwise, other things that are really fantastic to do in Amsterdam that I'm looking forward to doing again is just going to all the museums. Go buy a museum cart. So a museum cart is for locals. You need a residence card to get one, and it gets you pay an annual fee, and then you get in free to a lot of museums or at a deeply discounted rate. If you go to 3 museums, it's already paid for itself. So yeah, museums, Anne Frank House, the Rijksmuseum, the Van Gogh or Van Gogh if you're American, the Banksy Museum. I went to an MC Escher Museum in The Hague or Den Haag, which was amazing. Museum culture in the Netherlands is massive, and that's what I'm excited to get back to.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope Jessalyn's advice helps you in your transition to making Amsterdam your home away from home. If you haven't done so already, be sure to check out Jessalyn's other featured video on how she went from renting to owning a home in Amsterdam. For more tips on how to feel at home in Amsterdam, be sure to follow us on all social platforms at Expat Housing Network. If you're looking to rent or to buy a home in Amsterdam, click the link in the caption to schedule a free intake with one of our expat housing specialists, or visit our website at expathousing.network.nl. We are here to make sure that you find and feel at home in the Netherlands, no matter where you're from, no matter how much you make. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.